Ready to hunt. Ready?
I can't
Let's
yet.
do this.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I need more time. Meat creature. I can't yet. I can't yet. Weakling.
The abyss expands, and it is answered. They fight once more. We that fail. Wildwood's power is mine.
Hey there, stranger, brought here by the magic of YouTube algorithms. I present you a Lightning Spear build, but with a twist. We will be playing Titan, and we will use Shield Charge to absolutely annihilate bosses. I took a great inspiration from Carnario's video, where he plays Herald of Ice and Shield Charge Warbringer. Check him out if you didn't, he has some great content. But I made plenty of changes, so let's get started. Let's get started with the skills. So firstly, Spirit Gems. We will use Combat Frenzy to generate Frenzy Charges for our Lightning Spear. Support Gems are Profusion and Cannibalism for some sustain. Then, of course, Hurl of Thunder. with Innervate to gain us more damage. Electrocute and Neural Overload. These two gems actually enable this skill to consistently electrocute monsters, and by that trigger Combat Frenzy, which will give us frenzy charges. And since I also had some spare spirit, I decided to put Deadly Herald in it, because 30% more damage is a lot. On bosses, I use Scavenge Plating, because these two skills do nothing on bosses. And since we benefit from breaking armor, gaining like constant 50% more armor is really nice. Support gems are Persistence for more duration, Herbalism, and Vitality for sustain on boss fights. Now let's get to the other skills. For clear, we'll use mainly Lightning Spear, with of course Volt, which gain us more damage and chains to our lightning bolts. Fork, Perpetual Charge, and Primal Armament. If you happen to have a 5 slot, like I do, you can use Martial Tempo here. Because in my setup I don't have really much attack speed. You can see that my default attack time is 0.8, which is not really fast. And with this gem, it becomes 0.67, which is much far quicker. And it is really convenient, especially when you're surrounded with monsters. The faster you will throw your spear, the less damage you will take. Now, next will be Shield Charge. We use this skill on bosses and also to finish up some single rares which we didn't kill with Lightning Spear. The cool thing about this skill is that it doesn't really require mace. The only thing is required is Armored Shield. So basically any shield which is not a buckler. This skill is the main priority for you to use your level 20 skill gem on it and to have 5 slots for support gems. Support gems we use are mainly to increase the damage of this skill. So first is Concentrated Effect, because we do not care about area whatsoever. Execute, because we use Deepest Tower Helmet, more about this later. Heavy Swing, because loss of the attack speed is not really, doesn't really feel bad with this skill, since its attack time is already so fast. Exploit Weakness to benefit from fully broken armor, and Close Combat for another 25% more damage. Next is of course Infernal Cry. This skill with 20% quality gives us another 150% damage as fire to our empowered skill, which is insane. This is actually why we are doing more fire damage than physical damage with this build. Even so, we didn't take Avatar of Fire. And this is why we can scale Ignite, as you saw in the preview. Support gems here are Premeditation for more damage, Raging Cry to give us some more rage, and Rage War Cry to spend 10 rage and gain 30% more damage. And you can put Ingenuity here to decrease its cooldown, so we can repeat this combo more often. Next is Armor Breaker. This skill is a nice way to increase our damage even further. And also, since Shield Charge has a cooldown, it's nice to have something to use in between if you didn't one-shot a boss. The only thing which is important here, well, there are actually two things which is important here. First is quality, to increase armor break. And the second is Demolisher support gem, to even further increase armor break. Usually you will only need like 1, maximum 2 attacks against armor bosses to fully break their armor. Other gems are not really important. So Break Endurance here is actually a leftover from Carnario's build, which I was trying out. He was using it together with this unique weapon Nebulok, which consumes an endurance charge to guarantee critical hit with the next attack. So with this setup, he was guaranteeing crit on shield charge. But I didn't really like the inconsistency of this support gem, because this 40% can feel really frustrating when you break armor like 3 times in a row and then do not get a single charge. So I decided to make my build as straightforward, as simple, and as consistent as possible. I ditched crit whatsoever and sacrificed the highest potential damage. But damage is still there. Of course, I will not be one-shotting Xesht like maybe he did. But as you saw in preview, I two-shotted him. So not a big difference, if you would ask me. And the fourth gem, you can put whatever you like. For example, Break Posture for some stun build-up. Cadence to increase attack speed if you are using it more than once in a row. I decided to put Maim here for some slow. And the last 2 skills are Solar Orb and Flammability. These skills require intelligence, so use appropriate level. So I have like 64 intelligence, which allows me to use level 8 Flammability. With the Solar Orb, we use Font of Rage, so it helps us to stack rage even before the fight, because usually bosses like do some animation, do some speech, and during that you can stack your rage. Then Fire Exposure and Strip Away. So this skill basically has like 100% ignite chance against nearby enemies, and by doing so it will inflict this exposure on it, which will increase our fire damage. And the last one is Magnified Effect, so it's more convenient to use. In Flammability, I decided to increase its quality for magnitude. Heighten Curse, Arcane Tempo for faster cast speed, and Focus Curse, so it will be quicker. But you can replace it, for example, with the Persistence for more duration, to use it less often. There are some consideration I want to talk about here. Because, for example, Scavenge Plating, it is not really mandatory here. You can change it, for example, for some other skill, like, for example, Berserk, to gain some extra damage from Rage. Or, for example, Time of Need, for this burst of healing on boss fights. You can pick your own. And regarding Flammability, so from my testing, I only need this skill on high tier pinnacle bosses content. All the map bosses I'm basically one shot, and I don't even bother to use this skill there. So, for example, you can change this skill with Barrage, especially if your spear is lacking and you don't have enough damage and you feel like you're clearing a bit slow. You don't one-shot mobs with your lightning spear. You can put Barrage with Inhibitor, and for example, Mobility, so you will lose less speed while casting it. Inhibitor is mandatory here because we don't want this skill to consume our frenzy charges. They are needed for Lightning Spear. So with this skill, you're basically use it, throw a spear, go to another pack, use it again. What it does, it basically gives your 2 extra projectiles with reduced damage, which is essentially doubles your Lightning Spear damage. And you can also put Ingenuity here, so you will be able to use it more often. And other spells to consider here are Thunder Sleep, for example. This skill can give you some ability on mapping. For example, you can jump over some terrain, some fences, jump over to high ground or to low ground. Personally, I don't really like this skill because this animation is a bit slow at the end, and you can't cancel it with a roll like with the Mace Slip Slam. That's why I don't really use it, but it is perfectly fine if you want to. You can also put like Holy Descent here for some regeneration after landing, momentum for more damage, and even something like Fist of War for more damage and AoE. Or you can use actually Lip Slam instead of it. Lip Slam is actually faster because you can cancel this animation with a roll. But the problem here is that you will still lose some time because you will swap weapons to use it. So that's about it with the skills. So a post-edit edition. When I was talking about the skills, I forgot to mention one thing. There will be some map modifiers like increased ailment threshold on monsters or increased life, where you will be not getting electrocutes with your Herald consistently. And it may feel really bad, because without the charges from the Comet Frenzy, this spear does very low damage. To mitigate this, I advise you, well, you can basically avoid those maps, but still, if you happen to do one, you can use this support gem, Pin. And you can put it for the time being in the shield charge, for example, instead of Exploit Weakness. What it does, it basically converts all your physical damage from stun build-up to pin build-up. And with such a high amount of physical damage, we are basically pinning an enemy with just one use of this skill. Any enemy, basically. And what you want to do, basically on the map, you use your shield charge, you pin an enemy, Combat Frenzy gives you a frenzy charge from the pin. You use your spear, you use it again if you still have left frenzy charge, and you then repeat with the shield charge. It doesn't really feel bad, it does feel fluid, I would say. So yeah, it's a nice consideration on such cases. Now, excuse me. All this talking makes me thirsty. Let's talk about items. So I consider this as the strengths of this build, because since we'll already need at least 205 strength and as a same amount of agility for our skill gems, we can pick from a huge variety of items. We can stack armor, we can stack evasion, we can use evasion gear or hybrid armor evasion gear to stack armor with iron reflexes. This is what I did. And yeah, so be patient and search all of this. So let's start with the essential piece here, the Deepest Tower helmet. Don't look at the icons. I changed this appearance of this helmet, and for some reason it also changes the icon. This is the Deepest Tower. In case you didn't heard about this helmet, this is what actually enables us to deal a lot of damage to bosses. What it does is that enemies in your presence are counted as being on low life regardless of their life amount. And you can actually hover with the mouse here to see the radius of this presence. This piece is mandatory. Next, let's talk about our weapons. And this is also why I like this build, because our weapons can be really cheap, relatively cheap. For example, this spear I bought for 2 divines. Since we are not stuck in crit whatsoever, because I think with the high crit, this spear would cost a fortune. But all stats you need to care about is high physical damage. Some lightning damage is also nice to have. Plus 3 to 4 level to all projectile skills. 5 is maximum, but 5 will be overpriced, I think. And increased attack speed would be really great to feel. So, and next, our mace, which we use on bosses. And it is even easier to get this, something like this. Because the only stat we care about is plus 5 to all melee skills. This is maximum, and this is what we need. All other, like prefixes and suffixes here, do not matter at all. I also got myself increased elemental damage with attacks, because I thought maybe it would scale added damage from Infernal Cry, but I don't think it does. So it really does not matter. So it's really easy to find something like this for almost free, I would say. And the last piece, we need to deal a lot of damage, of course. Well, not the last, but still, is the shield with the highest amount of armor possible. So you need to get something like this. Around 1200 is nice. You can get even more, but it will be more expensive. Don't bother below 1100. 1200 is a nice medium amount. Because our damage with the shield charge scales primarily with this armor value and the level of the skill. Sorry. And the last 2 pieces, which enables our damage, are glows and an amulet. Because we need this plus 2 level to all melee skills on glows. It is the maximum which you can get here. And plus 3 on an amulet. Plus 3 can be pricey. You can go with plus 2 here also. Another important attributes here are like damage with attacks is nice. Attack speed is also great. Some resistances, attributes, whatever you need for your build. For example, this amulet, it's really nice. I got it for like 3 divines. It gives me plus 3 to all meta skills, all attributes, life, armor. I think it's great. By the way, none of these items cost more than 3 divines for me. This item is like the most expensive I got for this build. So, yeah. And the other pieces, like rings, you need damage to attacks, attributes, life, rarity, resistances, whatever you need. Same with your belt. And the boots, of course, you need them 30 to 35 movement speed, at least. Sorry. And life, strength, any attributes you need, resistances. And same with your body armor. I decided to stack a little bit of armor because we are playing Titan and it's easy to do. And I also need to mention that most of my gear comes from my Mace Titan, where you need to stack a lot of strength to use like Titan Blood and two-handers. So that's why all my gear has such amounts of strength and life, but it is really not mandatory for this build. You can use whatever you want. You can use like dexterity gear, intelligence gear, if you want to stack some. It doesn't really matter. And especially you need to search for the hybrid gear, like these boots, for example. You can see here that they are armor and evasion gear. And they provide insane like value of armor plus evasion. Insane, I mean, for the cost. I got them for like 10 exalts, which is nothing. And they provide me with 30% movement speed, life, rarity, strength, and they were even corrupted when I bought them with plus 22 cold resistance. And for example, you can also find something like this. This armor. I also got it like for 10 exalts. And look at this. It would give me insane amount of armor. Even more if I would put a second iron rune here. Life, dexterity, double resistance. Great. I decided to use this because I wanted to scale my regeneration a bit. And since I already got it from my Titan, Mace Titan, I would say. So I actually think that this hybrid gear is underused, and because of this, underpriced. So you can search for it if you're on a budget. Same with its gloves also. So this is about it with the gear. And I also wanted to mention one last thing, which you can and absolutely should do, is to have a second shield for your spear setup. Because to have a high block value together with high armor value, this shield would be very expensive. It's like a 20 plus divines minimum. And you can use another shield with high block value and a little bit of armor for your spear. The only few things to consider here are that your resistances on this shield should match, or you should get your resistances on other gear, because you need the same amount of resistances on both of your setups. But personally, and it also will make it more convenient to use, because you only need to press X like to change your weapon sets. Personally, I don't do it because of one reason, and it may sound silly, but I just don't. I like how it looks. You know, with this huge shield on my arm, huge shield on my back, the only thing is lacking is like huge shield in my second arm, and maybe a huge shield on my chest. I just don't get it. It may sound stupid, but it's my character, and I do whatever I want with it. But you absolutely can and should utilize this. So this is about it with the gear. Let's talk about passive tree. As you can see here, we are greatly utilizing both weapon sets, but I will firstly talk about the general tree, and then separately about both of these weapon sets. So starting over here, picking up Relentless, nice value for 1 point. Going all the way here, I decided to pick Beef, because I like Beef, and since I already had so much strength in my gear, I decided to stack some gear, some strength for life and damage. You can totally drop it if you don't have such gear, and put this point somewhere else. Next, going over here, picking up these nodes for stun threshold and more life. I actually picked up Resolute Technique. This is also not mandatory, because with high amount of dexterity, you can easily stack a necessary amount of accuracy, especially if you have some accuracy on your gear. I don't have such. And there are still like monsters with evasive modifier, and since I do not scale crit whatsoever, I decided to not bother with it at all. So for 1 point, I just can't miss. Sounds great. Picking up these nodes to increase our damage, and also utilize the higher amount of armor from our shield. Going all the way here, picking up these attack nodes, which feel great on Titan, because all these small nodes are 50% increased value. Also picked up Blood Magic, because I have high amount of life, high amount of life regeneration, and I don't want to bother with mana at all. So why not? Going back here, these nodes are actually great, because they can feel really terrible with two-handed maces. Because your attack speed becomes so slow that you actually don't want to use them. But with the one-handed maces and with spears, they don't feel so bad. And they provide like great amount of attack damage. Going all the way here, as I already told you, I decided to pick these strength nodes and gain some damage from strength nodes. And also I do not care about mana lost because I use blood magic. Going all the way here for iron reflexes, of course, because they wanted to stack some armor. I also picked up these attribute nodes because as we are already here, I think they provide nice value. You can also like think about going here for Jack of all trades. The only thing you need is to put your intelligence for about also 200. So it's really easy to have at least 200 in all attributes, and you can have even more to increase your damage, for example. And also with this skill, you can also try to use those gloves from Xesht, which give you lightning damage from intelligence. I didn't test them, but I think they may feel nice. Going all the way up to pick up this cluster. So this cluster doesn't really feel great in my setup because my shield is only 26 block chance and I didn't scale it at all. So this node will give me only 26% damage. But still, I didn't find any other sources to increase damage with both spear and shield. By the way, I want to talk about it because the problem is that nodes like this, which give you increased damage with one-handed or two-handed weapons, they do not your shield charge do not benefit from them at all. It doesn't matter what you hold in your other hand, I mean weapon, of course. It will not increase the damage with shield charge. There are only a few ways to increase the damage of shield charge through passive tree, which are attack damage, melee damage, and stuff like this, where you gain extra damage of physical damage. So these nodes are nice because they buff both our shield charge and lightning spear. And I also went here. Of course, we are benefiting from these nodes because we use Deepest Tower. So these nodes give us an insane amount of damage against targets that are on low life. And basically all enemies in our presence are permanently on low life. I picked these three in my general setup because I didn't have enough weapons at points. And also they doesn't feel bad, you know. There are still will be some like rares or monsters which will come close and you will deal increased damage to them, and also you will finish like low life enemies far away quicker. And also I picked this life regeneration and hard to kill because I wanted to boost my regeneration a little bit, and this node together with Hail Heart, which is a great point. It's Hail Heart increases not only regeneration, it's life recovery. So it increases regeneration, increases your flask effectiveness, it increases your life gain from kills, etc. And these two nodes together, especially with my huge flask, because I use blood magic and my flask can benefit from this great modifier here. To increase a lot of life, but removes mana. But we don't have mana. So together with two nodes, my flask will heal me like in seconds to the full. It's really great. Talking about these nodes, of course, pick these three to increase our damage against enemies in low life. I will talk about this jewel afterwards. Right now, let's talk about the weapon sets passive. So the first weapon set is the red one. This is our spear weapon set. which we use to clear maps. Starting with this cluster of one-handed damage weapon. Next, I went all the way here to pick up these lightning nodes. I don't really think they are great, and I consider dropping them for something, but still they provide nice values like 18% and 25% here, 30% increased damage against shocked enemies. They can feel nice. But by the way, for example, if I would use another shield with high block value, personally I think that you can drop these like 6 points and to get yourself some block value, which will increase your survivability during mapping very, very high. By very high amount, I mean. Next, going all the way here, and this cluster is actually important for the spear, and especially because of these 3 nodes, which give us lightning penetration. It's 9% here, 9% here, 15% here. Together they provide us 33% of lightning penetration. And since I do not get any lightning penetration from my gear, I do not get any lightning penetration from my jewels, it is important. Because at the time when you ended on the map with increased elemental resistances modifier, or for example if you encounter a rare with this aura of elemental resistances, you would be grateful that you have these nodes. And also these lightning damage nodes are really great, because lightning spear does like 100% lightning damage with lightning bolts and 80% lightning damage with the actual spear. Also, these 2 nodes are important because we will be slower than, of course, an Amazon or a Deadeye, especially a Deadeye with the Tailwind. Because we are starting here, we do not have access to nodes like this, which gives us movement speed, and also we use huge shield, heavy armor, which is even further decreases our movement speed. So yeah, we are not running fast, but hell, we are playing warrior. If you play warrior, you are not in a hurry, I would say. These 2 nodes gives us 8% movement speed together and 8% attack speed if you killed recently, and they feel great with this build. You like throw a spear, kill a pack of monsters, run to another pack faster, kill that pack, and continue. So for 2 points, great value. I also picked up these one-handed nodes to increase my damage with the spear. So now let's talk about the second weapon set, which is the shield charge weapon set. So we're starting with these nodes. The only node which is important here is this. Gain 12% of physical damage as extra fire damage. I did some calculations, and this is really great value, even considering these 3 points, which are basically useless for us. And especially since we are stuck in an ignite damage, it will even further increase our potential ignite damage. Next, of course, picking up these nodes with melee damage at close range. Great value, and of course we are using shield charge at close range. Picking up these to increase our ailment magnitude and ailment duration, which is ignite in our case. Insane value from these 3 points. These empowered nodes to increase our damage with empowered attacks by Infernal Cry. This node you can drop for something else, I think, because it is not really mandatory. You can put it like somewhere else, like for pick up escalation, for example, for a little bit more damage. Picking up these 2 nodes on the way to increase our fire damage, gain some 15% penetration, and the 50% duration of damage in elements. Very good value for these 2 points. And since we already got here, I decided to pick up this little cluster. I mean these nodes. And I think I will finish it when I level up. So these nodes give us 24% attack damage against rare or unique enemies, which are the bosses, of course. I think it's a great value. And 20% here, here, here. 6% attack speed is not really needed, but you can also finish up with Giant Slayer, which should give us another 20% damage. And it also can give you accuracy if you're, for example, not use Resolute Technique. Next, going all the way up and finishing this cluster, of course. So more damage against low life enemies. Our hits are lucky, which is great. We are basically rolling our damage dice twice and picking up the highest value. So this is about it with the tree. Now let's talk about jewels. And sadly, this is I think right now the most expensive part of the build, and especially this one. This diamond gives us +3 level to all shield charge skills. I got myself this one for 10 divines, and I think it's not really expensive for an effect like this, because this +3 levels will give you a lot of damage with the skill. If you don't have like a currency right now, you can search for like +2. Don't bother with +1, but still I think it's really worth it to pick something like this. It will serve you well, trust me. So another unique jewel which you use is from Nothing Diamond, which will enable us to pick any passive around the Unwavering Stance. This works amazing in combination with Deepest Tower Helmet, because we can pick up these nodes here, we can pick Hail Heart, we can pick Escalation, and we save at least 4 points. And the maximum even more. If you don't have this diamond, I would advise you to buy it, of course, but if you don't have a currency, you need to like drop these nodes, for example, and to spend these 4 points to travel for these 3 passives, because they provide you together like with 210 increased damage against low life enemies, which is an insane amount for these points. Another unique jewel I use is this Megalomaniac, but this is a luxury point. You don't really need it. I also got this one for 10 divines, but it is really not mandatory here. It gives me Immolation and Heavy Weaponry. So Immolation is this node, and I think is a great value. 25% magnitude of Ignite and +10 strength. And of course, Heavy Weaponry. Heavy Weaponry is nothing special, but it's nice to have. It gives me 15% damage, some stun down build-up, and 15 strength. So together, this jewel gives me 35 strength, melee damage, and ignite magnitude. It's great. And also, by the way, I didn't talk about my anointment. I anointed Slow Burn, which is increased magnitude of my ignite and ignite duration on enemies. So if you would like to pick something like this, you can search, for example, for Megalomaniac with this node, for example, if it would be cheaper, and anoint something else. You can search for, there are plenty of combinations of these diamonds. Just pick the most like cheap one, which will give you the most value. If you don't have something like this, you can use non-unique jewels. For example, last one I use is non-unique. This ruby. It gives me fire penetration and magnitude of ignite. And I think it's not the best right now for my build, because with this node plus flammability plus exposure, I don't really need this 8%, and other stats are pointless. But magnitude of ignite is nice. You can find yourself something better, for example, like this jewel, blue one, but with higher values, of course. It can have like increased magnitude of elements and increased magnitude of ignite, so basically you're double dipping in ignite. Or it can give you increased duration of elements, which is also nice. Or even something like this, which is not really great, but still, like physical damage, melee damage, it will increase your shield charge damage. Or something like this, like melee damage, magnitude of ignite. So basically, look for magnitude of elements, magnitude of ignite, melee damage, duration of elements, something like this. And I think this is pretty much it with the jewels. Of course, let's talk about our Ascendancy points a bit. Of course, we are playing Titan and we are picking Hulking form. This is why we are playing Titan, after all. To increase the values of all our small passive points. And there is not much else we could benefit from here. For example, these passive nodes are useless because we do not use slams in this build. I thought about using crushing impacts together with surprising strength, because with these nodes our lightning spear will start easily stunning monsters and dealing more damage to them. But I didn't really test it, and also I'm not entirely sure if it would mess up the electrocute buildup, because I don't know, maybe they have some diminishing returns because they essentially both stun enemies, but I don't know. I'm not really sure about it. You can test it yourself. But since I was stuck in some life, and this is a pretty low amount of life. With the better gear, I could went above like 4,500 easily, and even to 5,000 you can go with the Titan. I decided to pick this mysterious lineage from more maximum life, and since I was left with 2 points, I decided to pick Stone Skin. Stone Skin gives a lot of armor if your body armor provides it. And for example, my gear is not really great. It can be a lot better, because you can see here I use these resistances runes, and with the more expensive gear I could get my resistances elsewhere and use, for example, iron runes here to have even more armor, or like soul cores, which will give you my maximum life. But basically speaking, these are the only nodes I spent together with iron reflexes to gain armor, and I already have like with this shield I have around 9,000 of armor, which is something, and together with scavenge plating it will be even more. I also was using these 2 nodes before, and I'm like thinking about going back to them, because with these 2 nodes my armor will be around 12 to 13,000, which is a nice amount considering that with such a low investment in it. So I'm pretty sure that this build is far from optimized. You can theorycraft and think about it. I'm still like not really a veteran player. Actually, I have only about 900 hours in PoE2, and I didn't play PoE1. I didn't play other like games in this genre, like a Diablo games. And 900 may sound like something, but I'm sure there are plenty of people who played all those games and have like 20,000 hours combined in them. So of course they will be more proficient in it. But I'm pretty happy with this build right now and what it can achieve. And I'm just figuring out it's on the way. So, and I also really happy because I wanted to try spears out, but I didn't really want to play a Huntress or Amazon because I do not really enjoy the fantasy of her class. But you know, this warrior one with the armor, huge shield, and a spear, it gives this like a Greek hoplite vibe, which I find really appealing for me. And I like for my character to look good for me, you know, to feel great, the fantasy of it, not only the effectiveness of it. This is my personal feeling. So for those who happened to watch this video, and for those who even happened to watch this till this very end, I hope you liked it. I hope you will enjoy playing this if you wanted to give it a try. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.